right, lesson 2, the nature of science. Okay, I think I kind of mentioned some of this in my going over the last lesson, the idea between untestable hypothesis and a testable hypothesis, how that's tied to being able to falsify. We have to be able to think of a way in which a hypothesis could be proven false or be not supported. Key thing here, it talks about kind of the relationship between hypothesis and theory. So hypothesis is explaining one observation. Theories explain multiple phenomenon. They have multiple lines of evidence that are all coming together. And so when we think about like germ theory, right, that's not explaining why you get sick from bacteria or viruses or parasites, right? All of these things come together. And then we also have cell theory that's a part of that, or understanding of cells and how these germs make you sick, right? All of these phenomenon that we experience come together along with our background understanding, and that's how we develop germ theory. That's the idea of a theory, right? Multiple hypotheses coming together and forming this big idea. So hypothesis doesn't grow up to becoming a theory. Multiple hypotheses could come together with multiple lines of evidence to form a theory. Let's see. I think that's mostly what I wanted to cover there. I think the key things on this one I've kind of already talked about. Hopefully it makes sense why we can't approach science from a place where we're using supernatural phenomenon to try and explain the natural phenomenon that we experience. And it's because it leaves the rules we've set up for ourselves in science. In science, we have what we call materialism. That's a little bit different than maybe the materialism you've heard about in church, right? It's not about wanting nice clothes or the newest car or the biggest house. Right? This type of materialism is saying that there is a real and knowable universe. And in that real and knowable universe, we interact with things, and it doesn't matter who interacts with them. The cause and effect relationships that we experience are going to be the same for everyone. And that those are, to some measure, consistent. And so we don't have supernatural explanations to call upon because it leaves our realm of there's a natural explanation for the natural phenomenon that we see. And so there's a famous scientist named Stephen Jay Gould who kind of went to this idea and talked about how religion and science have different ways of knowing things. This underlying materialism is what makes science work. It's what lets us trust and believe in the experimentation that we experience, that there is not a supernatural force altering my experimental results. That instead, what is happening is I'm experiencing the natural world and testing that natural world. Religion, on the other hand, isn't really even concerned about necessarily the whys, right? They want to understand or the cause of those natural phenomenon. They want to understand our place in the world and the things that are around us and our relationship to one another and to a deity. They're asking different questions. And so for that reason, we don't want to use religious texts as our answers to the phenomenon that we encounter, unless we can use experimentation for that. And often when you think about what is described in religious texts, they're full of supernatural phenomenon. And when those types of things are the explanations, we can't test those in science. It literally leaves the rules that we've set. And if we can't test them, we can't get evidence for them in that scientific sense. And so that's where we're kind of going to make sure that in this class, we're trying to understand what do biologists think and understand about the world behind it around us. Um, there are, that's not to say that there aren't important answers that relate to biology that can come from spiritual things and from religion, but that's not what this class is set up to focus on. And so we're going to be going through the biological evidence that exists. All right. Any questions on lesson 2?